they use COVID as opportunity to basically control the population, finding opportunities and then reacting quickly to it to capitalize on that opportunity. Just because you made it out in those situations doesn't mean everyone should be denied these good opportunities.
What's marriage been like?
Yeah, marriage has been good. It's been great, actually. Yeah, well, the biggest thing, obviously, we didn't live together before.
Yeah.
So now we're living together. So that's a big change. All the effects and associated.
Do you wish you guys would have been able to live together, obviously, if...
100%. I mean, we were at the stage where we really just want to start living together, start our life together.
Yeah.
Rather than just having to talk on the phone or seeing each other like once or twice a month. That was quite annoying. That was like one of the biggest reasons why we were like, it's not like in our culture we can just start living together.
Yeah.
It's either get married or you're not living together. So like that is one of the big reasons why we were like, let's get married.
At least not knowingly.
At least not knowingly. That's the big reason. But unfortunately, we both work like near our homes.
Yeah.
So we were like living at home, both of us. And it didn't make sense for either of us to move out. So it's not like we could have unknowingly lived together as well. We were like, we're going to get married to each other. That was confirmed by that point. So let's get married.
Right. What's been the strangest thing about obviously having someone live with you?
I think, I don't know. It's probably like thinking like...
Anything you didn't expect or you were like thrown off by?
I mean, maybe I'm like, maybe not constantly, but a lot of times I'm thinking like, is she okay? And like, what is she thinking in terms of, is there anything she's upset at or finding difficult? Yeah, but like it's something that I'm thinking internally a lot of times. Maybe, even if I'm like, although I don't say that to her because otherwise she'll be like, stop doing that. That's freaking me out. That's obviously she's moving to a new home and so we're living with me, my mom and her. So it's like a trio of, in the house. And obviously her moving into our house with my mom there's a lot more for her to think and she's outside of her comfort zone. So I'm just trying to make sure she's comfortable. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't really mind it. Like maybe because we were so tired of not having each other there all the time. So now having each other there all the time is like a great change. And to be honest, we have plenty of breaks from each other when we go like to work or when I go to play football or whatever. So when we're together the whole day, it's like a few times a week when we're working from home and stuff like that. But and also on those days, obviously we have work to focus on as well.
Yeah.
And then on weekends we are together, but we're also together with our friends as well. So another big thing about marriage is like both of our calendars will merge into one, and now we're busy every single weekend. So always doing something. So, I mean, to be honest, I like that because I hate just sitting at home.
But when you're talking about before, you guys want to use each other as excuses to not do stuff.
Oh yeah, that's another plus point where you're like, oh yeah, she's not really feeling it, when I'm like, I definitely don't want to go either. But it's a good excuse to use.
With regards to like when you were planning the marriage and everything, like how much of a nightmare was it to navigate that? Because you had family coming from abroad as well, right? Yeah,
it was a lot to navigate because there's so much to do when you have your wedding here. Whereas in India, it's like, I wouldn't have to worry about that, or neither of us wouldn't have to worry about that because we have people in India. Like my dad lives in India, so he'll be able to like sort out everything and I just sort of turn up. But that's literally it. But here, I was like, I don't really want that. I want a bit more control of our marriage. So we were both like, we want to have a wedding that actually wanted to experience and we were going to be happy to be there. And it's not, because I remember my brother being like, he really like didn't really enjoy himself on his wedding day just because he was just so tired. And like, how people are in India, they have weddings like every other day. So they just turn up just because otherwise to them it's rude if I don't turn up. And then they have the food and leave. So the vibes and energy of the whole wedding is like so dead. So we were like, okay, we need to make sure we want to have the wedding here, even if it's more expensive, even if it's more stress. But then wedding planning started and it was a lot of stress and a lot of expenses to the point we were like, damn, maybe we could have had it in India. But after the wedding, we were like, we're so glad we had it here. One of the main stressful things, like you say, is like that we had quite a bit of family coming from all over the world, like from Australia, America, India, obviously, and like getting accommodation for everyone, sorting out things for them to do, making sure they're entertained. Because you know how Indian culture is. Like the guests are sort of more important than you, and like they're spending a lot of money to come and stuff. So yeah, you need to make sure, like obviously, like I said, during wedding season, like literally a few days before the wedding, I went with my cousin to go to London to show them around London.
Yeah.
Which I was like, this is not ideal, but at the same time, it was quite nice. It was a good fun day out and sort of appreciated like taking a bit of a break from like wedding planning and things like that. I mean, I say that as if I planned the whole wedding. Ria would be fuming if I didn't imagine she did most of the planning. I mean, I don't know, like it was a mixture of both where like I would probably talk to the suppliers and contractors more, like deal with like, contacting people, getting their quotes and things like that. And then discussing with Ria. Where she was more like the creative side of things, like choreo for the dances that we're doing, identifying inspiration for like the decoration, stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, it wasn't just us two as well with the whole wedding. It was like, obviously our family helped a lot, and obviously like our friends helped so much as well.
Yeah.
In terms of, well, not you basically. But yeah, like for example, Anna and Ria's other friends was like, basically decorated the whole church for us, and it was so good and helped us so much at the time. And I think when it comes to weddings here, it's just, you can't do everything yourself. You have to just rely on others.
What's your take or kind of like opinion on, obviously we're kind of getting into this season where we're entering like the marriage age, and a lot of our friends are starting to get married, and obviously there's this, now everyone's starting to have marriages here. What do you think kind of set that off? Because I swear was it like this before?
Nah, definitely not. Even up to like last year or 2 years ago, most of the people that we knew were getting married in India. I think it's just, especially our sort of, not generation, but people within our age group who are getting married, they've pretty much grown up here since they were very young. So they have very minimal connection back to people in India, other than like just like, you know, family. They don't have any friends there or anything like that. So when they're thinking about the wedding, and they've seen weddings here and they've seen how lit and fun it can be, and then they also go to India and they see like your family and stuff, you probably will have a good time, but the overall experience is not as exciting, and it's like a very different.
It's a bit dead, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah.
John's wedding was the first one that I went for here, right? And afterwards I remember thinking, I did not realize weddings could be this enjoyable. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? Why would I ever have one in India?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just remember like years ago for my cousin's wedding in India, like for one of the things, like for one of the events, we did like a cousin's dance sort of thing on the stage. There was barely anyone watching, and it felt a bit like, where's everyone gone? Like it is, people literally have just eaten and then gone. Like they dipped. They don't care. They don't care about no dance. They don't care about like trying to have a good time. And yeah, but whenever I go to India, for example, like last time when I went, I sort of understand it, because when I went last time, we had an event to go to, like weddings, baptism, housewarmings, and whatever. There was an event pretty much every day. So people are so busy and like so tired of it, and like they just want to like show their face and get out, because they just have too much. And like, yeah, can't blame them. And like, but obviously from our perspective, like people are seeing that and being like, yeah, I don't want that. I want it here with my friends, and where like all of my friends can come. Whereas if it was in India, only like a few friends can come. Obviously, that's the biggest shift. Is like everyone's just seeing it and being like, I want all my friends and family to be here.
Do you think as we go more and more into the future, there's like obviously like when your kids and your grandkids, like it's like obviously I'm talking like ages, right? But like, do you think there'll be elements where like you start mixing in like the Western traditions as well into our weddings?
Yeah, I mean, it's already happening. Really, for example, a first dance, like that's not a part of like
oh shit,
a
yeah,
Kerala, like a Kerala Malayali wedding doesn't have a first dance, so that's included. There's all these different aspects like throwing the bouquet and things like that. These kind of things weren't
I forgot
like traditions.
Like we don't do that there.
Nah,
do we?
no. So weddings, I'm talking about Catholic weddings and in Kerala. It's the ceremonies. There's the church ceremony, and then there's cake cutting, and then there's a couple of tradition things of like parents and uncles of like blessing them, gifting things and stuff like that. But after that, there's not much else in terms of things that happen. It's just people eat, people take pictures, people leave. And there's some sort of entertainment of like people singing or maybe some dancing and stuff like that. But the main thing is like the ceremony of in the church, and then go up, take a picture with them, and to prove you were there.
Do you think you guys would want to move out soon, or like as in move out of your, because you said it yourself, you're living with your mum at the moment, right? Yeah. Do you want to move out and kind of be by yourselves?
Yeah, at some point, I feel like until we are just by ourselves, we haven't really experienced, like married or like married life or just a life where it's just us. Until we've experienced that, that's like the next stage, I guess.
Yeah.
And also it's just nice to have like our own independence and just do things our way and have our own routine. But to be honest, my mom is barely home, like, because she's either working or at my brother's house looking after his kid. A lot of the time it is just us two. But even then, like, it's not our house in terms of like, it's my mom's house. And
yeah,
if we wanted to like completely change up like some sort of decoration in the house or, like, it's not the same. Yeah. And also like my mom does like a lot of the things in the house, which means that like, we sort of become sort of lazy, even though like I said, we've cooked quite a few times, but a lot of times she cooks as well, which makes things easier for us. But it just means that we sort of get lazy. Like I remember talking to you about like how we obviously in university we were doing things like by ourselves, everything from cooking, cleaning, everything, and then you go back home and then you're like, oh, my mum will do the cooking, or sometimes she'll do the cleaning, and you're like, oh, fine, I'll just let that be. I'll chill. But you sort of become lazy just because you can.
I remember going back to uni, like, in first year, going back home after Christmas, because I think I'd only been home like once before that. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm being treated like a king.
Yeah, like, literally. I loved it. It was so nice.
So my sister was getting annoyed as well. She's like, why is he being treated like this?
Yeah, that's also royalty. I remember like my mum would call and be like, what do you want to eat when you get? I was like, I get to choose whatever I want from the world. I'll be like, oh, butter chicken and fried rice. Like, done. It's there when I arrive. Hot. It was just nice. And then you come back and then you're like, you just want to go to the toilet and then you see Jason singing in the bathroom. You won't get out. It's like, I just want to be back home.
Oh, God. Do you ever like miss those uni years where?
Oh yeah, of course, all the time.
Right. We were talking about this, right? And it's weird because obviously you miss the vibes, you miss like being able to live with your friends and everything, but like you don't miss the poverty.
Yeah. The conditions we used to live in. Yeah.
Well, the fact that we make like a massive pot of pasta and just fucking eat from it.
If we do. And we didn't have forks at some one point. So Digital used one of those like, those pitchfork things that you use for like barbecues. So he was using that instead. Oh yeah, it was all about improvisation during university.
Yeah. Oh fuck. Like sometimes I genuinely think like I don't know how we lived like that.
Yeah, it's actually the amount of times we ate out like takeaways and stuff. Oh my god! Now that I think about it, it's disgusting. Like we used to eat pretty much every day. Like at one point, especially during like exam season, it was like, oh no, too stressed to cook. And we just buy from outside every single day. I don't know where we were getting that kind of money, you know. But to be fair, in Stoke,
it was cheap.
Yeah,
and like I think by the end we got tired of the food as well, so we just started rationing the food.
Yeah,
like we'd buy like a whole chicken and chips and have like half for lunch and the other half for dinner.
Yeah, economics.
I started doing that in first year.
Yeah,
where I'd go to Sweet and Spice, I'd buy a large biryani, have like half for lunch and half for dinner.
Yeah, you were mad with that, especially in third year. I remember you like brought like you'd buy pastries and eat half and then have the other half like later on or something.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know how you do this.
Yeah, but I also got really fat during during third year as well.
You got bigger after third year. When you go back home and then we saw you after.
And I just like, ballooned up.
Yeah.
I remember seeing pictures and I'm like thinking, and I had genuinely thought, that can't be how I look. Surely the camera adds 10 pounds.
Literally. Yeah, I remember in third year, I was huge as well. Like my brother's wedding was during that in third year. It was like April of third year. And there's a picture of me, like a family picture. And I just looked so huge. And I'm like, you know, when you think back, like, I don't remember thinking I was that big then.
Yeah.
But like, obviously the picture doesn't lie. And like, you're like, damn, times have changed. Yeah. I don't want to look like that again.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, that obviously seeing pictures was when I was like, okay, I need to like lose weight. That's what set me off on like start wanting to get like physically fit. Because before I was like, ugh, a gym. Well, why would I want to do that? You know what I mean? And after that, I never been able to stop because I have to be doing something. Otherwise, I just feel really unhappy and kind of like lethargic.
Yeah. It's about the mindset, innit? Like, if you can get it into your head that, like, if I'm not doing something active, I feel lazy or something like that, then you end up forcing yourself. Like, yeah.
And I remember like during uni, I was one of the laziest people I knew.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
There was a mission to take you anywhere, just to go, Alan, can we go to this shop? Nah, you guys go.
You also like lost a lot of weight like after uni and you kind of managed to kind of keep it off. Like, what did you kind of start doing and kind of getting into?
The biggest change that happened to me was intermittent fasting. Like, I lost 15 kilograms when I was doing intermittent fasting properly. And then after a while, like after like a year and a half, I started like slacking off. I think it was during COVID. I was like really good, like doing like running and stuff. Remember, because it was like nice weather.
Yeah.
It was actually good vibes at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah. And then it all went to shit.
Yeah. And then it would like winter hit and you're like, God, I'm so depressed. This is horrible. And then like you just eat. And then I started, getting it back. Because before intermittent fasting, I had like a nice routine where obviously I wouldn't have breakfast. And then I'd go into work and, you know, you're just working, you're at work, you're talking with people and you sort of forget about eating. Even when I felt hungry, I could just sort of ignore it. And then you'd eat at a later time and then you can have that routine going. Whereas I really struggle not to eat when I'm at home, like not to snack and stuff. I'd wake up and then fucking sit on my chair, staring at a laptop, not talking to anyone in my room. And then my mum will come and like, do you want tea? And I'm like, fine, I'll have tea. And then there'll be some sort of snacks.
Like, I think for me, the biggest thing is in terms of fitness is obviously like you work a desk job, I work a desk job as well, right? And I'm in the office like all the time. And I see everyone around me as well. And I'm like thinking, fuck, I cannot let myself get to this stage because I have not seen a healthy looking engineer.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I mean,
it's really rare that you see like someone. There was a guy at my old place who was like into jiu-jitsu and everything, and he was built like a tank.
Oh, okay.
As in, he was like really skinny, but he had a fucking six pack, and like, I rolled with him as well, and it's just it felt like he was made of steel.
Yeah, those kind of people. Yeah. I feel like there's always people who are like really into something, innit? Like, for example, that guy is really into his gym and being active. So for him, working a desk job isn't that much of an issue because he is so active. But for more regular people don't realize like when you're sitting around for majority of the day, you need to some offset that with something. And recently, I mean, I would say not recently, like in the last year, I've really enjoyed just times when I can be active where but it's not really gym though for me, because gym I find a bit boring. Like I have like motivation for like a few weeks, then I'm kind of bored. And it's just, I don't know if I'm just not doing something right, or like I haven't got it into my mindset. Like, you know, when you really bang gym hard is when you're like, when you miss a day, you feel shit. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I can't believe I missed a day. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can't wait to go back. But for me, I didn't get to that point yet. I was like, when I missed a day, I was like, really glad I didn't go.
I would say to get to that stage, you need to start seeing the progress that you've made. Right. For me, it's like hitting like a new PR, or I started leaning out. When I lost like all of that fucking weight, I remember going to swimming one day, and I remember coming out and just seeing myself in the mirror, and I was like,
damn.
I was like, what the fuck? I didn't realize like how
ripped you were.
Well, it was more like how much weight I'd lost and how much I'd like, leaned out.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, fuck, okay. So I've done this in the space of like 3 months. So I can like keep going. And for something else, it's like probably like being able to like lift like a bigger weight or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say if you can hit like consistently for 2 months and like clean your diet up for that 2 months, I think you'd be surprised.
I just find gym hard. Like I play football, for example.
Yeah.
And like I could play football for hours and I don't obviously get bored and I'm loving it and like burn like 1,000 calories or whatever. But then I hit the gym for like half an hour. I'm like, God, I'm bored. But you know, probably a part of that is, like you say, like having mini goals within like trying to reach personal bests. And like for example, if I'm benching something or like a lot of times I just choose a weight and I'm just like, okay, this feels heavy enough. And I go for it and I don't record it and things like that. So next time I might end up doing the same weight. And in my mind, I'm not like, oh, I need to beat this weight. I have a rough idea of what I did and things like that. And obviously I want to get better at it. But there's nothing like meticulous about it.
Yeah, you like definitely need to record what you're doing.
Yeah. I think that'll help.
Yeah, that's why I was like writing down, like I was like logging the weights that we were doing. So that either next week I either know how to either increase the weight or do more reps, because you have to consistently keep pushing. Mm-hmm. Otherwise you just plateau.
Yeah, I think that's it. Having something to work towards each goal.
Yeah.
Like each training session you're working towards something, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
I think that is probably the key to it.
And I think it's also been proven that lifting weights is the easiest and best way to obviously like keep yourself in shape, but also stop yourself from, like, as you get older, keep the muscle that you have.
Yeah.
Right. And also I think the density of your bones start going down, right? As in that's why like if you're like 80 years old and you fall down, you're more likely to break a hip. And it's because your bone mineral density goes down, and it's lifting weights is the easiest way to kind of keep that loss really minimal.
Oh, does it help like reducing bone density? Like how?
Yeah. It helps to reduce the loss of your bone density. And there's Instagram pages where you have like aunties like in India who are like old aunties, like lifting weights.
I've seen that they do like they're
doing like fucking deadlifts and shit. They're doing deadlifts. I don't know if they're doing squats, but 100% I've seen them doing deadlifts, and I'm like thinking, fuck, like need to get my mum on that.
Imagine.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to do for mum and dad when they go back.
Yeah, I've trying to get them more into fitness.
Yeah, I'm probably going to try and get a personal trainer for them. Because like,
what they'll be offer? Because I feel like if I tell my mom I'm getting your personal trainer, she'll be like,
I've told them both about it.
Yeah,
I've mentioned it to them. I've told them like, this is the best way for you guys to keep fit, because I had,
especially now that like obviously they're moving to India and they're not working. Like that is a big thing. Like,
that's a big thing. That's like one of the things I'm most worried about.
Yeah.
Because like,
especially eating the Indian diet. You're like, gotta be careful there.
Diet, like mum and dad are both pretty, like they can be careful if they want to be, but just keeping fit. Like dad goes for a walk, but you know, like how much is that really going to do? Like affect
Depends
you?
how much he walks.
Yeah. So I had his Apple Fitness like synced onto my watch as well. So I can see
like competing with him.
No, so I can just see if he's like gone for a walk or done like any kind of exercise.
Yeah.
And like I used to call him out on it.
You only hit 500 steps today.
But that would be like a really good way to obviously make sure that they are getting fit. Like this time when I go, I'll probably try and get a personal trainer for them sorted out. And there's a gym like right next to our house as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse for them to like not go.
I wonder what kind of exercise they're made to do. I reckon it's like really low weight things or like...
Probably. I mean, obviously if they've never worked out, they're not going to get them to do like a 100-kilo deadlift.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
They'd probably like start off with like low weights.
But do you reckon they'd make them do deadlifts and squat?
Yeah. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't make them do something. Why they wouldn't not make them do something.
Don't you think like when you get older, like your range of motion becomes a bit more restricted? And
yeah, but again, I think it depends on the person. Like maybe deadlifts might be a more of a...
So I'd like if I was old, I'd be worried about like my back and stuff if I was doing like a deadlift.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Maybe they don't make them do like regular deadlifts. Maybe it's like sumo deadlifts. So regular ones, you have your hands outside of your legs. Sumos, you have them inside. I think sumos might be easier on the back. I don't know. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah,
but that's like an aspect of how to do it.
Yeah,
but I would assume that they would make them do it all. Unless they've got like a bad back and they're like, okay, maybe don't do deadlifts.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. Like, personal trainers and people who could like, I just find it funny how like, it's so easy when you think about it. Like the theory of getting fitter or losing weight, it's just eat less, work out more.
Yeah, eat less, move more. That's like, you can...
the fundamental. But like, how you do that and having someone to push you to do that is like...
But obviously it's like a really difficult thing to do. That's why like not everyone does it. Yeah. That's why you've got so many fat people.
Yeah. Right? Obesity rising.
Yeah. I'm sure you can attribute a lot of it to the fact that obviously people just move less in general now. Like everyone's got a car, so everyone like drives everywhere.
And also the food we eat
the food we eat is like hyper palatable. Like, you know, like...
Crazy how everything's got sugar in it. That's like mad.
Like I would, like obviously I fucking love having a Big Mac, but a Big Mac's got what, maybe 700 calories?
The burger alone, yeah, probably.
Right? Like something like that. Anyway, like all of this kind of adds up. And like, you know, the jelly that we had, like, I mean,
the gloop,
yeah, like we can laugh at it because it is kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like really low calories. It's like what, 10 calories or 5 calories a pot, and it's enough to keep those sugar craving kind of satisfied. So there are loads of substitutes that you can do, which most people just don't, because obviously
it's the harder choice.
Yeah, it's the harder choice. Like obviously, like a chocolate croissant would taste a lot nicer than that.
Croissant would really hit right now.
You know, like a 5 calorie pot of
gloop.
Yeah,
it's not quite the same.
That's why I think, if you want to lose weight or get in shape, the first thing you should always try and sort out is your diet.
For me, like I tried so much to sort out in terms of eating healthy, like salads and stuff like that. I'd do it for a week and I'd get tired. But I found intermittent fasting like way easier, way more suitable for me, because I can not eat for a while and like just keep going hungry. But I was like, when I do eat, I want to eat like proper. I don't want to be restricted to what I want to eat. But then again, I also felt like I'm still, you know, minimizing my calorie intake, which is probably why it worked so well.
Yeah. That is why you lose weight.
Yeah. And so even if I eat, like if I'm eating once a day and that meal is like a KFC Zinc-Tower box meal, it's obviously not great for you, but it means you end up losing.
But do you not like feel like really disgusting and gross at the end?
So that was one thing I know. And I notice it more and more now where you eat like a really greasy meal. Like I really don't like eating McDonald's now, as in chicken burgers and stuff like that in McDonald's, not so bad. But the beef burgers, oh my God, they take me out, man. Like after I eat it, I just feel like it's stuck in my stomach. I had like a big, huge rock in my stomach, and I feel it the next day. And like, that was grim.
The beef burgers I don't have a problem with, but the chicken nuggets and the mozzarella sticks and all of their breakfast stuff
Really?
ruins me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have that much.
The breakfast stuff really takes me out. It's like you said, I just feel like it's sitting in my stomach, and like my stomach's just there struggling to get by.
Pretty mad how much of a difference it makes to you, how you feel and things like that.
When I was doing intermittent fasting, that's the one thing I realized, that if I have like shit food, obviously I feel really shit. And obviously because I'm only eating in that window, I feel really shit for the whole fucking day.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I might as well eat good food.
Exactly.
And feel better.
And also, like, I found out that when you intermittent fast, the food that you break your fast with is sort of absorbed at like a higher level than if you had it without fasting before.
Okay.
So if you're eating good things, more of it is absorbed, broken down compared to, and so also if you eat something bad, like something really greasy, more of the negative parts of it is absorbed into your body and things like that. So I was like, okay, I'm breaking my fast. I should break my fast with something that like good and is obviously better for the body like that. So yeah, that was an interesting discovery which prompted me to eat better as well.
I think I've got a good handle on it now. I make sure I have loads of like fruits and vegetables, and like if I have like unhealthy food, I make sure I have like good food along with it.
You're living like by yourself here, so I feel like you've got way more control over what you're eating. I'm living at home where like either like we cook or my mom cooks, and
but do you not think that's just like an easy excuse?
Maybe,
right?
Most likely, definitely.
Because I would say it's way harder for me living by myself. As in,
so then you're not lazy,
like, yeah, like you're right in the sense that because if I want to eat healthier, it's easier for me because I can just think about myself.
Yeah.
But obviously, because you're living at home, you're saying that because your mom's like making the food and stuff. But like, do you not think that the responsibility should be on you to like eat healthier?
Yeah, obviously the responsibility should be on me. But when I get home from work and there's chor and chicken curry in the fridge and like I just need to heat it up, like very difficult to be like, no.
Or maybe it's about portion control. Like, have you ever tried doing that? Where like I'd say like you'd limit the obviously like cup of rice and maybe 2 cups of chicken curry and like a bowl of like vegetables or salads.
Yeah. Like the sort of Indian food we cook. I mean, I don't know, maybe it is, but I feel like the Indian food we cook at home here isn't as bad. Maybe like the really oily things that we make and stuff.
I mean, you can substitute out a lot of stuff. So obviously you have to take into account that the taste will change, right?
Yeah.
So in India, if you're making like, say, sambar, right? Like all of those spices are being fried in like coconut oil, right? And obviously that's going to have an effect. Whereas you could probably do it in another way where you toast the spices like just on a frying pan, not using any oil, and then use the low calories.
The sprays.
Yeah, spray and do it. But those things affect the taste.
Yeah.
And I think we've got this thing in our culture where we tend to go off like WhatsApp news.
Yeah.
Like it's so much.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the thing? What's Ajinomoto? MSG.
Oh, MSG. Yeah.
You know how everyone's like, oh, it causes cancer and all of this shit.
I was so convinced that thing was bad for us, purely based off all the information I've heard.
Yeah.
But then I talked to Jason Jaron and he was like, yeah, it's not true.
MSG
is fine.
Like MSG is completely fine. And they've been using it for ages. It's the fact that a lot of the Asian food that use MSG, the same way that Indian food's cooked. It's a lot of like greasy like fried oils and all of that shit.
So what does MSG actually do? Like, because apparently it makes things taste better, but how?
I don't know I don't know the exact neurochemistry behind it, but I think it works almost like salt.
Okay. Like, does it have a flavor or does it like enhances?
I think it enhances the flavor. So it depends on what you put it on. Obviously, if you're adding MSG to KFC, then obviously it's not like it's the KFC that's bad for you. It's not the MSG.
Yeah.
But if you're using MSG to flavor, say, broccoli or like a chicken breast, and you're cooking that, then it's good for you because obviously you're having better quality food.
Right. Okay.
Right.
But that in it, the MSG in itself, like, yeah, I'd be curious to know what it does.
I think MSG also makes the food taste more like hyper palatable, as in it makes it you just want to like eat more of it.
Oh, like moreish. Like,
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
And you can buy it as a sauce, or you can buy it just the MSG powder, and you can add that into the food. But like you realize it's how you use it as opposed to the actual thing itself.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, exactly. It's probably all the things. Yeah, like Jason Jeddah was saying, like how this whole rumor of it being bad for you came from like one study that found that it was bad, but then it was reviewed and it was like discredited and things like that. But obviously,
it's just lived on.
Yeah,
right. It's the same thing with like vaccines as well now. This is what I was talking about before, where like people like Joe Rogan have just like lost their minds.
There's this weird, like, you're obviously on Twitter. Like, there's a weird trend where when someone dies or like has any sort of heart attack, people were like, vaccinated? Was he vaccinated? Was she vaccinated?
That's like
the first thing that they want to like, does it suit my agenda? Like, should I be talking about this?
What happened with LeBron James' son?
Yeah.
He had a heart attack on court. Like during a game or something, or like during practice.
I heard, yeah.
And like that was one of the things that everyone was talking about. It's like, oh, I bet he was vaccinated.
Yeah. That's gonna. So whenever I see like a story of like a famous person getting a heart attack or cardiac arrest, it's like, there we are, another vaccinated. As if 98% of people didn't get vaccinated. Like obviously, more vaccinated people are gonna get.
Yeah, I think these people are just going off anecdotes. This is one thing that I feel all of these like anti-vaxxers kind of miss the point on.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say like 90% of the population has got vaccinated. Right. Out of the 90%, it might be less than a 1% that's had negative side effects. Like they fail to realize that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I think you have to take it in terms of the probability and like the statistics, and like you are obviously much more safer taking it than not taking it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Not to go down this rabbit hole of COVID conspiracies, but in my mind, when it comes to COVID conspiracies, there's two sides of things. There's like the vaccine side of things, like they're using vaccines to control you, or like they're using vaccines to microchip, or even like the vaccine is actually bad for you and is causing bad health issues. There's that side of things. And then there's the other side of the conspiracy, which I'm not on the side of, or more inclined to be like, there's more substance here. It's like they use COVID as like a opportunity to basically control the population, or like used it as an opportunity to be like, let's see what we can get away with.
I think there probably was an element of that, because if you look at oh my God, did you ever like look at the, you know when Matt Hancock's text messages got leaked by that journalist?
Exactly.
That was insane. All right. Like you can clearly see that there was an element of like wanting to control the public on there, right? So you can kind of make the case for whether or not it was with the right intentions.
Yeah.
Because you could probably say, okay, people weren't taking it seriously. So people needed to be shown that, okay, it is actually a really serious thing that's going on.
But I think that's the thing, is like trying to instill fear.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. I mean, there's even within that, there's like different levels. Like they're trying to create a new world order. And the lowest scale is like, they want to influence you by using the news. And I think that's pretty obvious. Like governments and media, everything, they use what they have, which is like news, to try control what people think, obviously.
Yeah.
That's why there's like right-wing media, left-wing media, and they obviously post things which are trying to benefit their viewpoint. And yeah, that's already existing.
Working in marketing, right? How transparent are those attempts to you? Like if you see something like going down and you're like, oh fuck, like I know what they're doing. Like, do you ever get that?
Not really. But I mean, I work in digital marketing. To be honest, now I work in like a media agency. So I see the thought process of like, how do we create an ad? What's the message we're trying to send and things like that. So when I see an ad and stuff, I think, okay, this is what they were trying to do. this is the process behind it. Like it's quite more clear. But when it comes to like governments or like messaging and things like that, I don't see that side of things as much. But when you start thinking logically about it, it starts becoming more obvious. Like, for example, distractions that are used or like specific targeting. And also like I also work with a bit of data and how easy it is to actually misrepresent data.
Yeah.
And
talk to me more about that.
It's so easy to do a study which you control all the variables, or you can pick and choose the variables, and then you can find an outcome which benefits your agenda, and then you can share that as this is the study that you did. And there isn't actually that much checking of like the methodology and like how it's done. So people just want to see that tag or headline. The people aren't thinking like, oh, how was this actually tested?
Can you give me examples?
A funny example actually is like, so this digital marketing agency for their client did a study of who was supposedly the hottest bald guy that people found attractive. And their result was Prince William, I think. Like he was supposedly the hottest guy. And this went viral, it went mad crazy viral. And then the guy I was working with at the time, like he was part of like the digital PR team. So he was like, his team would do this sort of thing. And he's good at his job and he's like ethical with his job. And he was like, okay, let me check out this methodology. And the methodology was so dumb in terms of they sort of targeted or altered the data so that this outcome would come. So because Prince William as the, because you just know, obviously, loads of people are going to be like, well, that's ridiculous. And loads of people talk about it and tweet about it. And obviously it became viral. And he actually, so the guy I worked with, he like argued with the creator of that campaign, be like, this methodology is ridiculous. Like, how can you do this like this and like that? And they had to, I think they had to pull back the campaign. I'm not completely sure.
What was the methodology they used?
I don't remember exactly, but a lot of these things is just like using social listening. Social listening is basically looking at tweets and looking at people's comments on social medias and sort of saying if people would mentioned that person and in a like, and some mentioned a word which would suggest that they were hot or not to that person tweeting. I'd also done like these sort of campaigns where you would bulk analyze people's tweets. For example, I could do a campaign where I analyze tweets with a certain hashtag and I could put it through this tool which would tell me if they were like relaxed or stressed. And then I could create an outcome and be like, people who talked about this were really stressed about this, or like create a headline like that.
Yeah.
And those sort of headlines just get viral and like, popular. So that kind of thing is, it was really interesting getting to learn that working in marketing, you see through that kind of things, and it makes you question, like one of the biggest changes, like it makes you question all the things that you see on like on Facebook and things like Lad Bible articles and things like that.
Has it made you just, obviously you said it yourself now, question it. So do you now just, when you see a ad or a post or whatever, do you automatically think, oh, why has this been targeted towards me?
Yeah, so if it's an ad, I'd be like, yeah, I'm always sure like why. It's pretty obvious to me why this is targeted. When I see like a Lad Bible post or like a link to stories or studies especially, I wonder how this has happened. I'm always curious about that.
The craziest thing is when I've noticed is when I go to search stuff, right? Sometimes it might even be stuff that I'm thinking. Like I've seen something like on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and I'm going to search it up on Google, and it comes up as a suggestion, and it might be something really fucking obscure, right? It might not even be something that you'd associate as being a common subject, but it comes up on suggestions, and sometimes it's something I might just even be thinking about from like watching TV. I might not even be on my phone, and it still comes up, and you're like, "Fuck, right."
Yeah, it's quite crazy. I've had it where like I'm like about to say something, it autofills, and you're like, how how have you guessed this? But it's literally just data. It's about the compilation of everything you do on the internet. So when you visit a website, when you interact with a certain content, when you like a page, retweet something, these are all things linked to you as a person or your online profile. So that helps to like feed what sort of person you are, what sort of likes and traits that you have.
Do you think that a lot of people are just not aware of how much of their data is out there?
Yeah, probably not. I don't think people know. It's difficult for me to gauge people's like view on this in terms of, because I'm so aware of it. I'm like, surely people must be aware of it. But then I see people's opinions on it and I'm like, they're probably not that aware of it. Because in terms of how scared people sometimes get, like for example, if I want to buy sunglasses and I get served sunglasses, I'm like, oh, this is probably because I've searched for something related to sunglasses, or I've searched for maybe even like weather or things like that. But then someone who doesn't know that, they're like, oh, this is freaky. How on earth did they know I was looking for their sunglasses? And then they get paranoid about it and like, they're like, oh, it's listening to me, it's doing that, it's doing this. When I see people do that, like have that sort of reaction, I was like, it's just the result of data working together to create a really good picture of what you want.
It's not listening to you. It's more, is it more to the fact that obviously your location's on, so it probably saw that you walked near a sunglasser, or maybe you like went in and...
Yeah, or like you went to their website, you interacted with one of their ads before. See, a lot of times you don't actually remember like what you click and what you go through and things like that. So when people are like, oh, this is so crazy, it's like a lot of times it's really not. Like it is so basic.
How do you think all of this kind of plays out in the future? Obviously, because you're working in a marketing agency, right? You'd probably, I'm going to guess that you might have like a better idea of how like this move towards the future.
So what's actually happening is, because of general population's attitude is we don't want advertisers to see our data, or we don't want platforms to have our data. It's basically becoming harder for marketers because they're having less of a clearer picture. So what's actually happening is everything's sort of moving away from cookie-based capturing of data. So for example, Google are moving away from cookie-based, and they're trying to build a better picture of you, just the way you interact with the Google profile, your history and things like that. And just sort of trying to use different sets of data to build a better picture of you. And yeah, it means that as marketers, we'll have to be a bit more clever in terms of how we market to the people. And it is difficult for that. But for like the general population's views, it's like, I want less data. But at the same time, this kind of thing helps people to get targeted ads. Like personally, I would prefer more personalized ads than really generic ads, because I think that I'm going to be served those ads anyway, right? So I'd rather have something that's relevant to me.
Yeah.
It's up to me whether to buy it or not. You know, I'm not being forced to buy anything. But if I'm, for example, we're using the sunglasses theme again. If I want to buy sunglasses, I want to be served ads on sunglasses, because that's probably an offer ad, if you get me. So that I'm being told an offer, and like, you know, that's great for me because I get this thing on offer, and this thing I wanted. But if I don't need to buy a car, I don't want to be what I want to be served ad on a car, if that makes sense. Like it's just pointless to me.
So with something like guerrilla marketing, right? How does that work?
So guerrilla marketing is basically reactive. Yeah, it's like finding opportunities and then reacting quickly to it to create content on it to capitalize on that opportunity. Different as there's obviously different levels of how much you're going to fund into this. So one reactive marketing opportunity is just like writing a tweet. For example, if there's like a viral meme or something like that going on, you could just tweet like in that meme format, or you could like put out an ad or billboards and things like that. And yeah, reactive content works well because it puts you directly in the middle of people's conversations. because it's what everyone's talking about. But it's really difficult for brands to not come across as cringy or like forcing themselves. When brands, it looks really forced. Like it's not funny. It just looks forced. So it has to be really suitable to their brand. It has to be like a brand which is known for, or trying to be known as, like fun and a bit edgy and things like that. If, for example, like Unilever post a meme, you're just like, this doesn't make sense. this is not right.
Yeah. How are brands kind of working around this social justice movement? Because obviously a company like Nike, right, talking about social justice kind of doesn't sit that well when they're obviously using sweatshops in Vietnam and Thailand and like India, like all of these countries to build their stuff. Do you think the reason they're moving in this like way is to kind of take attention away from that side?
Probably it's obviously to help them be seen as in a better light.
Yeah.
But they're also thinking like, who are their target audience? For example, on the Colin Kaepernick thing, a really a pessimistic view would be like, they supported Colin Kaepernick because he's an athlete, and one of the main target audiences of Nike is athletes. So why would they not be on the side of the athletes?
Yeah.
I mean, like it's the young people that one of their target audiences. Who are young people more likely to be in support of Colin Kaepernick, or like the more right-wing people who are saying, oh, you shouldn't disrespect the anthem. So like, I'm sure all these things were part of their decisions, in terms of it definitely created a pro-con list. It wasn't a case of this is in line with our views.
Right. Yeah. I thought about that. I was like, surely they're not doing this out of the kindness of their own hearts. Like it's the bottom line, right? Like, it's following the money.
Yeah. I mean, it's about like what's best for the brand.
Yeah. And I'm sure that they sold way more Jordans doing that campaign.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, Nike, you could probably look at their reports and see that they're only growing. That they're not declining, because their base customer isn't going to be pissed off by that. Like their main core customer is not going to be upset by that.
Yeah.
If anything, it will boost them.
Obviously, we've now got 2 major elections coming up next year. We've got the US ones, and I want to say the British ones are next year as well. Or the year after that?
Maybe, because the last one was 2019, right?
Yeah, but then didn't they dissolve the parliament?
Bro, we've had so many elections. I have no idea how many. We've had so many changes. Since the last election, we've had like how many prime ministers? Like 4 or 5?
Yeah. Do you think that both parties are going to start using these kind of marketing tricks or techniques, depending on how you see them?
It'd be stupid if they didn't. Like, I'm sure they probably do it already. Like, they create videos and things like that already, don't they? And they also have like ads that are paid. So as part of that, you are targeting certain demographics.
Who do you think does it best?
See, the thing is, for example, I'm probably not seeing that much like Tory paid ads, because they probably like, this guy isn't, he's not the target audience. So I wouldn't be able to tell. Yeah, I don't know enough.
My feed's full of them.
Well, there you go. It's like, loads of people out themselves because they're like, they get ads for like porn and whatever, and they're like, why am I being served these ads? This is ridiculous. And it's like, yeah, it's based off of your history. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, these guys will have people working on this to identify like their main target audience. Yeah. So for them, probably it's like, it's not about main target audiences. It's probably like, who are the audience that we want to switch over, or like who are in the middle ground that we can push to one side.
I feel like that's probably going to be the key deciding factor, because I think there's loads of people who are now just really unsure.
Yeah, right now it's like, it feels like there's no good choice, right?
Because Tories have just been Tories.
Yeah.
And I'd probably say that Labour has no kind of
a strong leader
or just any kind of principled ethics. There's a quote going around that Keir Starmer is the first leader of a party who's sold out before they got in power. He's gone back on all of his promises, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's 2 ways of looking at it, because the promises he made were in a different set of circumstances compared to now, because like COVID's fucked the economy, so you can't do things like abolish student loans, or right. There's a lot of things that they promise that they just can't do anymore.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to take that into account.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think also like Labour probably like after the last general election loss was like, you know what, we can't just try get the votes of the people who know that they're in the left. They were like, we have to sort of pander to the people who are in the middle or more right. And that's why like...
but it makes sense, right? Because
you need a majority.
Yeah,
right?
But also I might say most people are moderate than far left or far right. Like those are fringe portions of a
big portion.
Like of a society.
But the problem that appears because of that is like when, for example, Labour have obviously they're historically left, very left, and suddenly they're trying to be more to the right. Or people on the left or middle left would be like, well, that now is not aligned with my views. And then people on the right was like, well, it's more aligned with my views, but there's this other party who are on the right and they're, you know, completely like, I'm more on that side of anyway. So they sort of ended up in neither side.
I don't know.
And like,
my argument would be that the Labour Party has always been the party of the working class people, right? Like as a whole, like from a general point of view, it's been that. And I think it would just strayed further and further to the left.
Yeah, I mean,
with Jeremy Corbyn, it was like, you know, probably went too far to the left. And I don't think he was a particularly strong and effective leader.
Do you think, like, you say they were like the party of the working class?
Yeah.
Do you think there's also a part of it, of the reason why they can't get in is a lot of people being like, I don't class myself as working class. I class myself as like middle class, or I don't want other people to sort of... Like, I really feel like the UK and the type of people in the UK is like, if I can't be good, like, as long as someone else doesn't prosper, I'm okay. It's the view, the sort of perspective of people.
Yeah.
Like, remember when like the kids' free food thing, they were getting like half a carrot and people were like, why can't they just be happy with this? They're getting half a carrot. Like, I've survived on less. It's like, just because you went through terrible times doesn't mean other people should.
Yeah. Oh, there was this MP that went on, you know, when all the fucking sewage was being dumped into the beaches. This MP went on. It was like when I was a kid, they were doing this all the time and it was fine.
Yeah.
I was like, just because you lived in filth doesn't mean that other people have to live in the same filth.
Yeah. But I feel like that sort of attitude is so prominent.
It's way more common here, I would say.
Yeah.
And I've noticed loads of people say that, like, as in when like on other podcasts or like interviews, and like when people are conducting the US and they're talking about the UK, that's the opinion that they give, like where it's more like you don't want to see other people prosper.
Yeah.
Or like, at least you don't want to see people going further ahead than you.
Yeah. Or at least be given the opportunities that you didn't have. Like, just because you made it out in those situations doesn't mean everyone is able to, or doesn't mean everyone should be denied these good opportunities.
I think it's the weather.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
I think the weather just makes everyone really miserable, because like you're kind of right. People don't choose to say, oh, I'm working class. They probably say, like you said, I'm upper class, upper middle class, or like middle class.
They think they're in the rich group, like people on like median income. Like, you know what? People that they're more worried about like what will happen to me when I get rich than what will happen to me if I was poor, if that makes sense. So like, they're not thinking, if I lose my job and I miss a couple paychecks, I'll need the government support. And is there going to be enough support for me to live? They're thinking, oh, what if I like get really rich? Will I have more money at that point?
I think there's probably this tendency to kind of just look down on the working class.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about before with ChatGPT, right? Like when automation and AI was coming in, like we've been talking about automation for like years, right? Probably like the last decade or something. Been talking about driverless cars, like all of the things I mentioned before. Driverless cars, warehouse workers, food service industry, or like cleaning jobs, like all of these jobs. We've been saying, oh, they're going to get automated in the future. And no one really gave a fuck, because these are all classed as what we would say, like, well, what's traditionally been working class jobs. But now that you've got ChatGPT replacing things like writers and engineers and accountants and lawyers, like everyone's like, fuck. Have you got to stop AI from progressing forward? It just goes to show that we're society is just way more divided by class and by any other factors.
Well, you can go back even more, like, for example, in car manufacturing factories and things like that, where thousands and thousands of people, and then suddenly robots came in, and then thousands and thousands of people are laid off, and they just had to deal with it because this was the next evolution, and companies they're not going to say no to better costs, and they were expected to just deal with it. But now it's like, oh, these other type of roles are gonna
like, if you go further up north, but there's a town in Durham, right, that got decimated. It was a mining town, right? And so when mining jobs got taken away, that entire town got decimated. Like, that town's just like run down and derelict. There's no jobs, no prospects.
Detroit.
Yeah. So like, there's no jobs, no prospects. Like, so many people are just addicted to drugs, and it's just a really sad state of affairs. But it's been like that for years and years, and no one's really given a fuck. And now, for the first time in history, there's probably a bit of a rising up of the working class people. I don't know if you saw this. You know UPS, the delivery service.
Oh yeah, they get mad pay now.
Yeah. They recently the union signed a deal where full-time workers, I think, get a full pay of $170,000 a year.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah, and part-time workers have to be paid like $25 or $35 per hour.
Wow.
Right? And these people are getting so much hate on social media. They're like, oh, why the fuck are they getting paid this much? They're not worth that much. Like, people don't kind of stop and think, oh, fuck, okay, maybe I've been fed a lie like all my life, where I was told to go to university, get a high paying like job and work my way up the ladder. And you see someone else who's actually done the same thing but in a different route. And the immediate thought is like, oh, fuck them, fuck that.
It's sort of weird, like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's
like, imagine hating someone for, hating like someone working a working class job for making money. And it's not like they're doing some kind of fucking scam either. It's not like they've run like some kind of pyramid scheme and made the money.
The thing is, like, these companies will only pay you if they think it's value. There's value there. So UPS are only paying them that much because it will cost them more to replace them. So that's why all these strikes and stuff, people complaining like, oh, they've ruined this, they've ruined that, they shouldn't be striking, they should be happy with the pay. It's like, well, you sort of prove their point. It's like, if they weren't working, then there's issues, and that means that they are worth this extra money and things like that. Obviously, I do get that there is no like golden pot with everyone can get money from. But it's like, when salaries and wages haven't increased in years, or then it's like, and with costs increasing, it's like there's something's got to give. And at the same time, there's billions and billions either going off as like aid or tax rebates, and big companies being allowed dodgy things, and like government contracts going off to friends for billions of pounds. It's just like, there is potentially money there, you know, if it was run efficiently.
Yeah, and I think, like I was talking about the UPS workers, right? And now, after this deal got passed, right, one of the highest search terms on Google was like how to become UPS drivers.
Yeah.
How to become a UPS driver, or like applying for UPS jobs. And now they've got like a huge demand.
Yeah.
And obviously, people are going to consume less. Their profit margin might go down a bit, but I think it would probably work out better for them.
Yeah.
And there's a higher chance that it could probably put the other delivery companies out of business, because they've got things like FedEx, and apparently like FedEx union workers are going to strike as well now.
Yeah. I don't see why not. Why would you not? I can imagine though, like, for these UPS workers, they will have to be a bit more careful with their performance, with the amount of potential demand for their job.
Okay, so you know that UPS workers aren't allowed to take, left turns?
Oh yeah, I saw this. Why is that?
Because it uses more fuel, and they say apparently they save millions, and like they save like a shit ton of money every year.
That's
as
crazy.
In the company. Because if you think about it from our point of view, it's the equivalent of saying you can't take right turns, because to take right turns, obviously because we're driving on the left side of the road, you have to wait in traffic. And don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure in America, if you're at a red light, to take a right turn, you don't need to wait for the light to turn green. Because I noticed that they do that in Italy as well.
But surely, like, the alternative is finding a route where you don't have to take a left turn, and that route might be longer, like a long way of getting around.
Yeah, but you have to think they're probably waiting less in traffic. They're not waiting in traffic lights.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's working for them, they're obviously doing something right. And also,
I think roads in America are laid out in different ways, as in they're laid out in blocks, right?
Yeah.
As in, like, they don't have country roads like we do here.
No, there's very weird setups there.
And I think like they walk and lift so much weight as well.
Yeah. Have you ever worked in like delivery sort of work?
And I worked in Just Eat for a bit, but that was it.
Yeah. I worked for Know How, like Curry's delivery service.
Yeah.
So tough. It is so hard. Like we'd be delivering like fridges, freezers. You know those American fridges, those big ones. Bro, they were so heavy and like you have to take them into people's houses. And like fridges and stuff, we're not allowed to take up like stairs, but like wash machines and dryers and stuff, we had to, if it was a flat and stuff. So there was a lot of deliveries going into like London flats. And it'd be like some really tiny flat and there'd be no lift and you have to take it up like a bunch of stairs. And it was so difficult. Honestly, that is hard work. And I'd be surprised if people working there didn't have like back pains and things like that.
I think if you talk to most people, they'd be like, I can fucking do that job.
Yeah.
They don't really like think about all of these kind of things you're talking about. They don't think about the fact that they might have to take all this shit upstairs that tiny and put it into an apartment that's even tinier.
It's actually mad. They specifically call out like, oh, we've got a big fridge freezer as one of the deliveries. You've got a big oven that you need to deliver. And these things, yeah, they're big. And there's two of you. So it's just like you have to manage it with you two. There's just no alternative. As a customer, obviously, I can't get to your place and then not get it tied, as long as it's like within like the...
How long did you do that job for?
I only did it over like the summer, like between uni. Like, between years. Bro, yeah. I did not want to do that longer term.
The only jobs I held during like uni breaks was working in Royal Mail and then KFC.
Oh yeah, I remember your Royal Mail. Your Royal Mail escapades where you thought you'd have to work forever. Do you remember like after third year you were like working there because it took you like a couple months to get like a job, right? Yeah.
I actually didn't like start applying for jobs because I was like, I need a break for a bit. And then you got a job and then Jason got a job and I was like, fuck's sake, now I've got to find a job as well. Yeah. Because mom and dad found out at home and they were like, oh, are you planning on applying for any jobs? So you just can like freeload off of us.
Yeah. You just plan to chill. Mom, let me chill.
Oh, God. But yeah, mad times.
It doesn't even feel that long ago, but it was a long time.
Yeah, it's like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, like, that's one thing that I feel like I've learned less to take for granted now, the time that I've got. Because I feel like I just blinked and...
After university, yeah. Crazy. Have you ever heard of the reason why time feels like it's going quicker? That it's like when you're younger, a year is a smaller portion of your life. Whereas when you're getting older, obviously a year becomes a smaller portion of your life. For example, when you're 10, a year is 10% of your life.
Yeah.
So that's why a year feels like a significant amount of time.
Oh, okay.
Whereas when you're 20, it's only 5%. And obviously as it goes more. That's why like a year feels like it's like, mate, we're in what? End of August nearly. And it just feels like 2023 started. Like it's crazy. Like times goes on.
That's probably why parents say like about kids, they just grow up so fast.
Yeah.
Like for them, I mean, obviously like from the kids' point of view, like, you're experiencing time like on a much slower scale.
Yeah, exactly.
But for the parents, it's obviously they're still like that year's gone.
Yeah. Do you remember like summer holidays? They'd feel like fucking forever. It was 6 weeks. That was all it was. But then like you'd be out doing loads of things with your friends. You're out doing shit. But now a summer just feels like 2 weeks.
Yeah. But again, like we don't actually have a break for summer.
I mean, yeah, we don't. Yeah. No, that's also depressing.
Yeah. I remember like realizing that I won't have any more summer holidays like after like finishing uni, and I remember being really depressed about that.
Yeah. And I remember thinking like, I'm only going to get 25 days basically to do what I want to do if I want to do it during the week. God, that is depressing. But I guess we have more money than we did when we left university.
So like, what's kind of next for you now? in terms of like, well,
I just want, I'm obviously very young in my career, so I just want to learn about like what are the aspects that I can improve on, where are the opportunities, and in terms of how can I, as an individual within this organization, make a bigger impact within the organization, because obviously how valued you are depends on the size of impact that you can make within that organization. And then, I guess also like, I do want to be more creative in what I do in terms of outside of work, or at least implementing things I know from work and I learned from work, and implementing that as like external ventures or other ventures, potential, like we could say side hustle and things like that, but just being creative with it, not even trying to create a business, but just have something creative.
Like a hobby.
Just a fun hobby that I can do. Because like I was talking to you about earlier, like a lot of time, there's so many things that I want to do and try, but I get so lazy just because after work, I'm just like, oh, just want to chill. But at work, it's just like a primary part of my work is like, data and reporting and things like that, not that exciting things. So the idea of working on more creative things and stuff like that outside of work, it just feels like a nice little, something on top.
What's something that you'd want to do?
I'd love to like share sort of the insights and stuff that I have from my experience and knowledge. Like, for example, on search engine optimization, on creating data visualizations and things like that. Yeah. It's not like, really brain melting things, but it's actually like really, can be really useful information, especially for people like small businesses or small e-commerce websites and all small, even blogs and things like that. There's things you can do on your website and to help you rank better and get better search ranking and traffic and work with your other channels. And there's opportunities of like optimization or becoming more efficient with how you use the different tools. Also, like, there's so many different tools that you can use, especially with AI now, that a lot of people don't know. So I think it would just be quite nice to share that across to people. And it could be a nice segue for me to, be like, I could share this information and sort of maybe, sort of divulge into more freelancing or have some sort of like.
Why don't you set up like your own social media channel to share all these insights?
Yeah, I thought that. I mean, that is something I want to do, where it's like create like an Instagram profile which just shares tips, or I create TikTok videos and things like that. But obviously, the previous website I did, which I just did to try and create my own website so that I know the workings around it and like all the different technical stuff. One of the main parts of that website is like, or purposes of the website is like basically writing content, and writing content is so like time consuming. Unfortunately, I didn't have ChatGPT at that time. Otherwise, I would have probably sped it up. So,
you got it now.
You got it now, yeah. So I don't think I want to do that same thing, but I could probably, I can obviously use it. I mean, we use it at work, so I could definitely use it.
Yeah, that's maybe something to think about.
Yeah, definitely something I probably want to pursue.
Should we wrap up?
Yeah, we've gone up for ages, haven't we? Didn't realize it.
Thank you for coming on. It was great to start doing it again. I actually really missed being able to do this.
Hopefully I've lit the fire.
Yeah, hopefully I go back on, get some momentum going again. But at the same time, this is like a hobby and I'm not going to burn myself out in the pursuit of a hobby.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So I got to a point where I was trying to, but that did end up happening. Thanks for listening, guys. Go follow me on my social media, Coconut Talks Podcast, and
show off the hoodie.
Yeah.
You should sell it as merch.
Yeah.
Soon come.
This is merch, by the way.
Exclusive merch, which only you have.
Yeah. Go follow my pages, give a like, follow, share, and all of that. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.